back. You're watching All About IPOs, the show that helps you decide which IPO you should be investing in and which IPO will give you the best returns. And Jagannathan is still with us from his office in Delhi, and like we promised in the previous segment, we're going to be talking about Readymade Steel. Now, this is a 4-year-old company planning an IPO at the end of April for about 41 crore rupees. Now, the company is a steel service provider to the infrastructure sector. It has about an installed capacity of 27,000 megatons per annum, processing steel to be used in the construction industry. The company, from what we understand, has one plant in Khopoli in Maharashtra. Now, Anil Agarwal is the founder and the promoter of Readymade Steel. He joins us in the studio right now to tell us a little bit about the company and, of course, about the IPO that's up and coming. They filed their draft red herring prospectus with SEBI. Anil, thanks for joining us. Tell us, what makes your company different from other steel companies in the business right now?
See, we are primarily not a steel company as such. We are a steel solution provider to the infrastructure sector, a segment which has been missing in this country. Primarily, we cater to the infrastructure requirement by way of a prefabricated, pre-processed steel. It is something similar to a ready-mix concrete for a cement industry.
Okay, so what you're saying is basically your raw material is steel.
My raw material is rebar, which was a finished product till 4 years back in the country.
Okay, and from what I understand from when we were looking through your draft red herring prospectus, you have clients like Nagarjun Constructions and Larsen & Toubro on your list right now. But the key factor is to convince the construction industry that currently uses handmade steel to use the ready-made steel that you're making available.
Yeah, see, the key, you rightly pointed out the key idea about this product also, and the key strategy by way of which we can take it forward is to convince clients to use a ready-made steel product rather than conventionally bringing steel to the site and doing all kind of activities and processing on site. But for us, fortunately, we've been lucky in the last 2 to 3 years to convince large infrastructure companies, contractors like Larsen & Toubro and Nagarjuna and various others to convert from a conventional way of using steel to a ready-made steel or a prefabricated steel.
To give us an indication of the total industry of the construction industry right now, what percentage uses ready-made steel or prefabricated steel?
See, we are one of the pioneers in this, and one of very few players present offering such services. We are not even 1% of the total market size.
1% of the total construction companies actually use ready-made steel. There are two ways to look at it. That means A, that the clientele is fairly small, but that also means a lot of potential to grow. Jagannathan, when you take a look at this 1% and the company, the basics and the fundamentals of the company, what's your response to what you're seeing right now?
It's an interesting concept because ready-mix concrete definitely has cut the imagination of the overall construction space and has challenged the original traditional methodology, the way the construction used to happen, the RMC side. Now this RMS, that is ready-made steel side, I think is also an interesting thought. So need to be seen how eventually what kind of scale it can reach, because many of the times this infrastructure building people will spend a lot of time in non-core activity like maybe just shaping up their steel. Now if the ready-made steel comes, they can concentrate back on their core production. This is more like fast food centers ordering the food and then you are getting the food readily, and similarly an infrastructure builder can get the steel readily. Having said that, it will take time for the people to really change their mindset, and size sometimes need to catch up, and profitability is in the initial stage.
Alright, Jagannathan brought up a very interesting thing. He talked about profitability. So give us an indication really when we're talking about profitability. How dependent are you, first of all, how vulnerable are you to the price of steel, which is a fluctuating price, and what are your margins like in your business?
As in any other infrastructure player, the risk is passed on and taken by the contractor. So we never have a long-term outstanding on steel commitments. It goes on a month-to-month basis. So we are fully covered in terms of steel volatility risk.
Okay, and in terms of your margins from the business that you're in, what sort of margins do you get?
Today, because it's in a concept stage, we are doing around 4 to 5% margins.
Okay, so you expect that
we definitely expect it to grow to 10 to 11%. Now we have successfully tried our concept in Bombay. We started with a 27,000 metric ton per annum capacity. We are expanding that capacity to 90,000 tons, and also to put up two new projects, one in near Delhi, another one in central India, somewhere near Raipur.
Two new projects. Jagannathan, I want to bring you back in here. This is what we've spoken about so far. He said the company is not very dependent on the price of steel because that's passed on to the contractor. But 4 to 5% margins right now. Are you comfortable with that idea? Do you think it makes sense for a retail investor to consider an IPO on this level?
These margins definitely will be very susceptible and vulnerable for any swings in the construction industry, as we have seen in the past that any macro level disturbance can immediately put the pressure on the infrastructure and the construction activity side of it, and can naturally put the pressure on the whole value chain at every level. So keeping that into account, probably 4-5% may look a little less. This is one more concept, as I'm saying, that probably eventually over a period of medium to long term this concept may pick up, but currently it is still in that nascent state for the investors to really understand, and for the overall steel industry to really to make impact. But interesting concept, so it need to be seen what kind of pricing it will come, probably whether it's a right, if the pricing is little reasonable, probably one can invest with a medium term point of view.
Alright, so that's the verdict coming in from Jagannathan. Remember, he did say that in the medium long term it might make sense, but in the short term we can't make that decision until we see the pricing of this IPO, and we won't know that until the end of April when this IPO hits the road. So we'll bring Anil back into the studio when the IPO does hit the road, and we'll give you the latest details on the pricing and tell you whether or not it makes sense. But in the meantime, this is an interesting company to keep an eye out for. We're going to go back on this show. Thanks for watching All About IPOs.